I am who I am because I value my past. The memories of yesterday can never be changed, but they give me a reason to live again. There is a reason I am here today, but there is no reason you lost your lives. You were called abusive names, deprived of rights to be humans, slayed because of who you were born. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I was young, I still needed you, but you were taken away from me too soon. If I had one wish, it would be seeing you again. Today we're strong men and women, even though you are not here to see. We're carrying on to make you feel proud out there, watching down on us. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I am a witness that if you and I come together as one, we can make sure genocide never happens again. History should be told and passed on to further generations. Let's all stand up and all sing out, never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. We are here as one nation. We say never again. We unite as humans. We say never again to genocide. Never again. again. To genocide. Never again, never again, never again. We brought you flowers. 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 We brought you
Good evening, fellow Ambazonians, and thanks for tuning in. You're welcome to this very important broadcast, Ambazonia This Week with Tarh Paddy King. Especially this weekend is ABC Amba TV Day, and today we're launching what we have captioned Missions 2025, an expansion of our programming in a most exceptional way possible at this critical time of war. Let me just give you a hint. Tonight is full of plenty. We have a great crew with us in the studio. The Secretary of State for Communications and IT, Dr. Martin Mungwa, is with us. We have the chair of the board and chair of press and the president of the patrons of ABC Amba Television, who has been with us almost all week long, Dr. Fred Lobati. We also have Barrister Mbeseha and Barrister Fru John Nsoh. So much you're going to be talking about. But we will begin that conversation just after Flash News. Tabitha has some stories around the world, and Onye will be taking them with some, we'll take the panelists with some questions on what is happening this Easter weekend. It's a great weekend, and we hope to make you all watching us feel happy this Easter weekend. The Zoom link for this occasion of tonight will be opened in the next 5 minutes. So I hope that you all that are watching us on Facebook via our social media platforms will also connect via the Zoom. And once again, thank you for tuning in. I'd like to hand the mic over to Tabitha Ako right now.
Ukraine is at a crossroad, and America is about to walk away from the war in Ukraine. With peace talks stalling and pressure mounting, the United States hints at stepping back. Marco Rubio says it may be time to move on. But what could this mean for Kyiv and Europe's fragile defense? Is the US abandoning its ally just as Russia doubles down on its aggression? These and many more recent happenings tonight from the home front, with a report of the announcement that the kangaroo system of La Republique du Cameroon has led to the condemning of Ambazonian citizen Abdul Karim to life imprisonment, will be explored in tonight's Flash News. Good evening and welcome. I am Tabitha Ako. Let's begin. President Trump's administration appears ready to shift its approach toward the war in Ukraine after repeated efforts to secure a peace deal, which have failed. Speaking in Paris after talks with European and Ukrainian officials, Secretary of State Marco Rubio made a blunt statement. If it is possible to end the war in Ukraine, we need to move on. As Washington grows weary, the tension becomes even more clear. Is the U.S. preparing to abandon the peace process? And if so, what happens to Ukraine and its allies? Could an American exit embolden Russia or push Europe into deeper military commitment? Is Trump's frustration in negotiating tactic a turning point in U.S. foreign policy? Well, President Donald Trump entered office. While he entered office, he promised to use his deal-making skills to resolve the bloodiest conflict in Europe since World War II. But after 87 days of high-level effort, the violence continues and frustration in the White House is even mounting. Now, what would moving on from the war look like if the United States changes its course? One option could be to wrap up military aid to Ukraine. Although Trump initially sought warmer ties with Russia, but Russia's refusal to agree to a proposed 30-day ceasefire already accepted by Ukraine has shifted the dynamic. Now, let's take a look at another option. Now, sending more U.S. weapons, which could help Ukraine push back, possibly forcing the Kremlin to reconsider its negotiating stance. However, this would be a sharp policy reversal for Trump and might upset part of his base who favor less overseas engagement. Also, here's another option, and this option could be fresh: U.S. sanctions on Russian oil and gas, along with penalties for countries that continue to buy it. And that would intensify economic pressure on Russia. But this might also harm global energy markets and strain relations with key trade partners. But now, here's the complication. Ukraine is just one piece of a larger puzzle. Trump is said to be eyeing broader U.S.-Russia cooperation in areas like energy, space exploration, and mining. That means any hardline action against Russia could risk those ambitions. Now, take a look at the exit option, and it risks, as Secretary Rubio also hinted at, a more drastic step: walking away entirely. Let's take a look at this video.
But we're not going to continue with this endeavor for weeks and months on end. So we need to determine very quickly now, and I'm talking about in a matter of days, whether or not this is doable over the next few weeks. If it is, we're in. If it's not, then we have other priorities to focus on as well. I think it's important to remind everybody that the Ukraine war is a terrible thing, but it's not our war. We didn't start it. The United States has been helping Ukraine over the last 3 years, and we want it to end.
Right over there, taking this move would be historic. And if the US pulls out, Ukraine and Europe would be left to face Russia alone. Ukraine's military is under immense strain, and European countries may not be ready to send enough weapons or supplies to fill the gap. For Russia, a US withdrawal would be both a gift and a curse. It could mean fewer obstacles on the battlefield, but also no peace deal, no end to sanctions, and continued losses on the front line. Russian troops are suffering heavy casualties, and public pressure is growing at home. Putin may yet regret not accepting Trump's outreach if the war drags on and the costs continue to climb. Now, what's the final moment for diplomacy? Despite the harsh language, Trump's administration says it hasn't given up entirely, as Vice President J.D. Vance told reporters. Now, the White House is still optimistic about ending the war, but warned time is running out. Now, with all parties posturing, a last-minute deal is still possible, but the political clock in Washington is ticking fast. Will the U.S. pull back just as diplomacy reaches a breaking point? And if Trump walks away from Ukraine, will the world see it as a realism or retreat? Now, the high hopes that Trump is the savior and could stop this war is the confidence the world has. Well, for what's inside, it's still possible. Moving on, now on U.S. and Iran nuclear talks. Today, the United States and Iran are set to hold a second round of nuclear talks in Rome, following what both sides called constructive indirect talks in Oman last weekend. But confusion over U.S. demands and threats of military action from President Trump have raised new tensions. As the stakes grow, a key question looms. Can this process lead to real progress, or are both sides just buying time? Could the U.S. shift from diplomacy to military action? And with both sides making conflicting statements, is there a clear path forward? Now, let's take a look at the background. What led to these talks? The talks come years after Trump withdrew the U.S. from the 2015 nuclear deal known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action during his first term. That agreement had limited Iran's nuclear program in exchange for lifting economic sanctions. Since then, Iran has resumed enriching uranium up to 60% closer to weapons grade. Now, the United States wants to restart negotiations, but this time with stricter terms. Iran says its nuclear work is peaceful and insists on its rights to enrich uranium for civilian use. Just last month, President Trump reportedly sent a letter to Iran's supreme leader offering talks and giving Tehran a 2-month deadline. Iran refused direct talks but agreed to continue indirect discussions through Oman. Now, what does the U.S. want? And it is clear. Trump says he wants a stronger deal than the 2015 agreement. Steve Witkoff, Trump's Middle East envoy, said in one interview that the goal was verification of enrichment and weaponization, suggesting a deal similar to the Obama-era deal. But later, Witkoff posted on social media that Iran must stop and eliminate its entire nuclear program, a position Iran has long called a deal breaker. Also, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth added pressure, saying Iran must agree to full dismantlement of its nuclear program. Iran's leaders, on the other hand, called that demand a non-starter, accusing the U.S. of negotiating in bad faith. Moving on, what's Iran's position? Skeptical, but not close enough. Iranian officials say they are willing to build trust, but will not stop enrichment completely. Foreign Minister Abbas Araqi said enrichment is non-negotiable. Iran's leaders also accused the U.S. of constantly shifting its demands. State media say Iran has set red lines, including no threats and no demands on its missile programs, which is seen as vital for its defense. Iran also rejects any references to a Libya-style deal, which it sees as a path to regime change. Now, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, said he is neither too hopeful nor too pessimistic about the talks. Now, still in the Middle East, where does Israel stand in the face of this? Israel strongly opposes any deal that allows Iran to keep nuclear capabilities. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has long called for military action if needed to stop Iran from getting a nuclear bomb. He was reportedly surprised when Trump publicly announced the first round of U.S.-Iran talks without notifying Israel in advance. Israeli officials are now pressing Washington to stick to a hardline stance and to keep the military above on the table. Israeli leaders also met with Witkoff in Paris ahead of the second round of the talks. While United States intelligence believes Israel may strike Iran's nuclear facilities this year, Trump has asked Netanyahu to delay any attack until talks are complete. Now, even so, Trump defended his approach. Let's take a look at what he has to say.
If he is, but I hope not. He's got a big force out there, big force. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president. That's a war, and it didn't happen for 4 years. That's a war that should have never happened. October 7th, Israel would have never happened. Iran was broke. And now we'll see what happens with Iran. We have a lot of them out there. We have a lot of things that we're working on right now that shouldn't have happened. None of it. Ukraine would have never happened with Russia. October 7th would have never happened, so you wouldn't have had all the problems in the Middle East. The Afghanistan embarrassment, probably the most embarrassing day in the history of our country, would have never happened. Inflation would have never happened. By the way, prices are down. Groceries are down. Eggs, which you hit me so hard, I'll never forget the first day, first week in office, they were screaming at me about eggs. I said, what's going on with eggs? They were doubling and tripling. I said, I just got here.
President Trump right there. Now, the present question is, what's next? With tensions rising, time is running out to strike a deal. The U.S. says the next few days will determine whether diplomacy has a future. Iran remains cautious but engaged. Israel watches closely and the region holds its breath. Will these negotiations diffuse one of the world's most dangerous standoffs or push it closer to war? Think about that. Now, also bringing you breaking news from the home front with Onyi Opala, but that will be right after the break.
Sovereign silhouette, the emblem of Ambazonia. From the azure embrace of the Atlantic reflecting from the Ambas Bay, the iconic Fako mountain ascends with a silent, stoic grace, carving a silhouette against the sky. This towering sentinel is more than a geographical marvel. It is the heart of southern Cameroons, the stoic guardian of Ambazonia.
Get ready for an evolution in broadcasting. ABC Networks 24 proudly presents Mission 2025, a groundbreaking launch that will change the way you experience television.
Beginning this Saturday, April 19, 2025, ABC Networks 24 ushers in a new era with 24-hour live programming that will keep you informed and inspired around the clock. Witness the power of cutting-edge technology as ABC Amba TV elevates its broadcast standards to the pinnacle of modern-day viewing.
All your favorite shows are back and better than ever, including Undaunted ABC Amba News and Military Briefings. Plus, explore the rich tapestry of Ambazonia with our Amba history and engage in critical discussions in ethics for an emerging nation. Experience the redefined classics that you love alongside thrilling new shows set to captivate Ambazonians across the globe.
But that's not all. Mission 2025 introduces brand new programming like Global Business News Today, offering in-depth analysis of markets, industrialization, and global trade. Dive into the heartbeat of Ambazonia with County Roots, exploring the sociology and governance from rural to urban landscapes.
Wake up to Ambazonia Arise, your premium morning show, delivering news, social media buzz, and newspaper insights to start your day informed and connected.
Join us for Mission 2025, where innovation meets tradition and the future of television in Ambazonia begins, only on ABC Networks 24.
Stay tuned this Saturday as we embark on this thrilling new journey. Don't miss out.
Here comes the dawn of Mission 2025, your window to the world. Starting this Saturday, be a part of it. Subscribe and donate now.
Right here, we have news from the home front and as it concerns Ambazonians. First, let's start with the president's thoughts on the TPS. For we all know that in the wake of the brutal armed conflict in the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, many citizens fled for persecution, violence, and political repression under the La République de Cameroon regime. And so, in recognition of these humanitarian concerns, the United States government granted temporary protected status, the TPS. This was granted to nationals from the Cameroons in 2022, which was offering a lifeline to thousands of Ambazonians escaping war and seeking refuge. However, recent developments have raised serious concerns. The broad label of Cameroons has left Ambazonians vulnerable once again, as the US now moves to strip their designation entirely under former President Donald Trump's deportation policy, a decision that falls and fails to account for the unique and still dangerous circumstances faced by Ambazonians. And so if this policy is enacted without distinction between the oppressed and the oppressor, countless victims of La République de Cameroon colonial war could be deported back to very territories where their lives remain at risk. And so tonight, the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ikome's address to Ambazonians and Ambazonian nation and the world at large, we would try to analyze it just briefly on the implications of what these developments and what it can mean for the people in the diaspora. But there was this particular session of the speech that caught us made us very emotional. He was appealing to over 7,000 Ambazonians in diaspora to do something different. Let's get that piece.
Fellow Ambazonians, last week, towards the close of the week, we witnessed a story from the press that the Trump administration is contemplating the cancellation of the TPS, the Temporary Protective Status, for the people from Cameroon, legally identified as Cameroonians here. This decision will affect about 7,000 plus people from Cameroon. And I think almost half of that number will be Ambazonians, if not more. Now, the Trump administration ran on immigration. Campaign was based on immigration. The kind of Mr. Trump kind of believed that he had a mandate from Americans to solve the problem of immigration. So we knew from the beginning that this is going to be tough, because when somebody runs on an issue and he wins election, that issue becomes front and center. It will take a lot of push behind the scene to alter anything in that agenda. So we started before and after the inauguration to take certain actions.
All right, before we continue on the other reports from the home front, we have our in-house analysts here in the studio and want to get their thoughts, but we wouldn't want them to delve deeply into that. But then we have Dr. Fred Lobati here in the studio. We also have Barrister Tim Mbeseha. Can see Barrister Tim Mbeseha. I can also see Barrister Fru John Nsoh here. Good evening, sirs. You're welcome to Tonight Front Concert. How are we doing today?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Onye, for having us today.
All right, Dr. Lobati, I've not gotten your feedback. I just want to be sure we can hear each other.
Can you hear me? Thank you very much. Can you hear me? You could hear me,
very
right?
well, very well. Thank you. Thank you, gentle. Thank you, sirs, for coming. I wanted to call you gentlemen, but then let's leave that aside. All right, you're welcome to today's briefing. We are aware of what the implications of the TPS, what it can mean. That's by the way. We are also aware that Dr. Martin Mungwa is on the other side to also give an in-depth analysis and government's position on the TPS. So we may not delve deeply into the TPS, but what we can do as Ambazonians is just to air our thoughts, what we think. I don't know if we don't have so much time, so we couldn't play the full length of the president's speech. But with what we know about the TPS and how it has benefited Ambazonians for the time that it has been, I want us to just say a few words briefly about what we think. Then probably later on, when Dr. Martin Mungwa is done giving the governance position, we can then return back to give analysis of what we think of what Dr. Mungwa has said, and of course what President SAKO has said as well. But for now, let's just give our thoughts about their speech and what the TPS is at the moment. Let's start with Dr. Fred Lobati.
Wow. Thank you very much for giving me the honor to express my thoughts, initial thoughts about this. Now, we need to recognize that the United States, of all the nations on earth, has been the one country that had, throughout history, tried very well to be lenient towards the suffering people of the earth. You know, you see the symbol of Lady Liberty in New Jersey, and, you know, they say, give me your weary ones, your suffering people. They can come to the United States and have relief of all their suffering. That is the understanding that people have had of the United States for a long time. We also know that at the peak of communism, when the Soviet Union was so brutal, as well as in China and so many dictatorial nations, it was the United States that went out, and whenever they had political encounters with Russia or China, they would talk about human rights. In fact, at the time, the US would say they could only come to an agreement on other issues, say with China, only if they agreed to give human rights or respect human rights in their individual countries. That's what we had observed throughout time, and that's what the United States had been. So TPS is basically an extension of that, especially towards the children of Ambazonia. We know that La Republique has carried out genocide since 2016, and actually they have been doing this on an individual basis, and in a hidden way that people never knew about since our independence. They have been killing our people. But things came to a head after 2016, since we started this revolution, or we had this revolution, and they have been carrying out genocide against our people. And they even state in their document of how they want to conserve power under the control of the Bulu, Betis, and the few collaborators from other ethnic groups that have been bought off and sold off to work with them, that they will never allow an Anglophone to be in power, that they will carry war against us, falsely accusing us of being separatists and terrorists and kill our people. And they even state that what counts is not how many people have died, but how many people are still living. So they don't care how many have been killed. We know that over 60 to 70,000 have been killed. They don't care about those. Or even how they were humiliated, bodies decapitated, and heads hung on sticks on the roadside, or people killed like in Bali and roasted with chemicals. They don't even care how humiliating all of that is. They say they don't want any sympathy on the part of Francophones. So with all of this, the United States government noticed that there was discrimination against the children of Ambazonia, and that's why our people took off and joined the wave of people who were taking refuge in the United States, like you saw them come across South America and other means. And so they gave this temporary protective status to our children to have relief. And in the process, they were being, verified whether they are true refugees and granted, an improved condition or status to live and work in the United States. Unfortunately, the very Francophones that have no pity on the Anglophones or the children of Ambazonia, that actually fully pay and participate in the genocide in Southern Cameroon. Some of them have taken advantage of this temporary protection status and came to the United States and want to use it to stay in the United States. We actually saw one of their hardcore CPDM Bulu guys, who used to be a government minister, a high-ranking government person in La Republique. When they picked him up and put in a plane, he was fighting not to go back to La Republique because they know that La Republique is not a good place to live in. So anyway, those are my few thoughts about that. In terms of getting rid of it, I think that at the end of the day, I have the feeling that this current Secretary of State, when he was senator, he knew about our plight. He was sympathetic about the situation of the children of Ambazonia. He tried to speak on behalf of the Ambazonians. I know that Trump had gone to the United Nations at the peak of our revolution when La Republique was destroying all internet connection to get us off social media so people would not see the atrocities we were committing. And he spoke there about the regime cutting off internet. So I hope that in the process they can truly discern and differentiate between the true victims of this genocide and war and those who are perpetrators, so that when they want to get rid of it, they will be able to still identify and protect those vulnerable ones. That's just what I would say right now. I will not continue. Thank you.
Oh yeah. In as much as I would have loved to get your heartfelt feeling, because I wouldn't know how the message came to you. I really wanted to know how you feel. I wanted to feel your emotions, but I will let that pass. Probably when Dr. Mungwa is done, we'll come back to what you would feel. Barrister Fru, do you have some feelings towards this that you want to express to us tonight?
Yeah, thank you, Onye. I just want to say that at the time that TPS was being introduced, there were about 1,700 Cameroonians on the removal list. And all of them, most of them, if not all, were granted TPS status because of the war in Cameroon. And the war specifically was in Ambazonia, which they refer to as the Northwest and Southwest. And since then, a lot of people have escaped that war and they are here. And some have joined the TPS wagon. And what are the advantages of TPS at the time? You are granted 18 months renewable as long as the conflict is still there. And you stay here, you have a driver's license, you have a social security number and a work permit to work, for you to work. So that is what I know about TPS. But different people view TPS differently. But the way I view it is that it is a temporary visa that is granted for you to be here. You are not permanently here. And when the conditions for what prompted them to offer you that TPS are no longer available, they can withdraw the TPS. The administration in place can withdraw the TPS and require you to go home. That is what I know about TPS. Now we have come to a point where the war is still raging on our territory and our children are being slaughtered every day. There's extrajudicial killing and all kinds of killings taking place in our territory. And there is nothing happening. There is no war except some parts of the extreme north in La Republique of Cameroon. And they have used, La Republique of Cameroon children have used the TPS as a stepping point to stay here using the war in Ambazonia. Now, from what I'm hearing, that TPS will end in June, on the 7th of June for Cameroonians. What happens to the people of the Northwest and Southwest, to use their language? We are Ambazonians, but they prefer to refer to us as people of the Northwest and Southwest who are at war. The war has not finished. So what is going to happen to us? That is what our government, led by His Excellency Dr. Samuel SAKO'S, is working and has been working on to ensure that our people are protected. It is his role as the head of state to protect his citizens. That is why he's working day and night with his government to ensure that at the time that it is expiring, there will be an exception to those of us coming from a war zone. So up to now, we don't know what is going to happen. What I know is that 22 members of Congress have signed a letter asking the administration to make sure that the people who are running away from conflict zone, particularly from the northwest and southwest, are protected under this status. So let's wait and see what happens. Whether the administration will listen to the legislative branch. Whether what happens, we are waiting to see. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Barrister Fru. Barrister Mbeseha, during the weekend we started this discussion, but I'm well aware that you didn't have enough time to expatiate on it the way you would have loved. I wouldn't know if the few minutes that we have tonight for you would be enough for you to say the things you were not able to communicate on Thursday when we tried to have this discussion for the first time.
Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to express myself. From the clip of the president there, the president says that President Trump ran on immigration and ending this protected status might seem to be to him like enforcing immigration laws. I wish to suggest that that is true, but the TPS does not violate Trump's immigration laws in any form or shape. He still enforces his immigration policy, which is deporting illegal immigrants. But the TPS is a temporary protected status, protected from being deported. It doesn't deal with everybody who just comes here. No, this is with people who are already in deportation. And they say, look, we're not doing right now. Why? Because the conditions back home to your home country are not feasible. Because deportation or whatever is not meant to punish you. And so, like we say in pidgin English, falling from the fire. It is the humanitarian aspect of component of immigration. Somebody is running away from hell, and then you push him back to fire. I want to be in your house. It's possible. Even with neighbors. If the animal is your enemy, he has been stealing your chicken, and his fire is on fire, you will not push his children back into the fire. That's what this status means. And so at the appropriate time, the president can always do it as his policy. Again, this is about this on deportation. In other words, those who have already exhausted their cases, those who came here on asylum, who have been denied completely, who are totally illegal. If you're already on asylum, or your asylum is being processed, you will not be on the TPS. And so that's what it is. But now the president wants to end it. What are we supposed to do as a government to make them stop it, stop the suspension? It's as simple as good morning. For those who are dealing with foreign affairs and other things, it's as simple as good morning. The last 2 weeks, we've seen what has happened on the ground. They shoot and kill anybody who's called Ambazonian. Just the suspicion of being Ambazonian, you are killed. Is that the place we're going to send people back to? No. As early as last week or 2 weeks, January, there's a story out there where an Ambazonian, Chris Aju or somebody, went to Cameroon. He's an American citizen. Upon landing in Douala, they took him to Kondengui. He has been there ever since. The American embassy in Yaoundé knows this. So this type of information and other things that they have just done the past few months and weeks will help us as Ambazonians have this thing prolonged rather than just any area in June. I would they call it Ambazonian or Cameroonians. But going back to that shit country called Cameroon, which is what the United States government is to be, is safe. And so it is purely humanitarian. And I'm sure that the Trump administration has a hidden component of everything that they do. They know that they are human beings. And so they should not be able to deport people there until the conditions back home have improved to accommodate you as a human being. If they're sending you to your grave, that is not acceptable. That is humanly not advisable. And so I think those dealing with this thing at the level of the State Department should just get the evidence to show that the conditions back home, what they call home, that includes Ambazonia, have not improved. They have instead gotten worse. And then they can cite this example of an American citizen who carries an American passport. He lands at the airport in Douala, is taken to custody. Is that the area you want to send people back? No, certainly not. What do you?
Oh well, very sad. Definitely, we may get a solution before then, but until then, we can't wait to hear the government's position, as would be read out to us by Dr. Martin Mungwa in a few minutes. But before then, tomorrow the world at large will be celebrating the Easter, regardless of the war in Ambazonia. The president still took out time to send an Easter message. That Easter message, we'll try to analyze a little bit of it tonight. We try to, sectionize the message in some points. But then, for all we know, this message is very powerful, and it was also emotive. President Samuel Sako has rallied Ambazonians to remain steadfast in this struggle for independence and self-determination. By doing this, he addressed the challenges faced by Ambazonians. President Sako emphasized the need for resilience and determination in the face of adversity. Here are some high points I carved out from the speech. He talked about transforming struggles into strength. President Sako urged Ambazonians to use the stones thrown at them as building blocks for their future, emphasizing that the struggles they face should not deter them from their goal of independence. He stressed that the pain of the Ambazonian people should serve as a catalyst for their fight rather than a source of weakness. He used the imperative of force. The president emphasized that the only language the La Republic de Cameroon will understand is the demand for Ambazonian departure from La Republic de Cameroon, and that this demand will only be met through the use of force. He cited the sentencing of Abdul Karim as evidence of La Republic de Cameroon's evil intentions towards Ambazonians, stating that La Republic de Cameroon has consistently manipulated and kept Ambazonians in a state of subjugation. Let's get that clip.
Fellow Ambazonians, happy Easter. There comes a time when, like Jesus Christ, you carry the weight of the whole world on your shoulders, of everyone, that those who mock at you don't matter anymore. You don't hear them. You don't listen because of the weight you are carrying. I know many were mocking and saying all manner of things when Jesus was carrying the cross and bearing the pain for mankind. I say this because we're in Easter. Because of the pain, the weight of the pain he was carrying, those little pebbles that they were throwing around him, those little words that people were speaking, he didn't even hear them. It did not matter. It was all about his mission to be accomplished. Ambazonians, we need to come to a point as we look at this great example, a point where our feelings don't matter. The stones they throw at us don't matter. What they say by the side against us don't matter. Because we bear so much pain within that no other pain, we cannot feel any other pain. Have you imagined somebody who is burning in an oven at 150 degrees? If you take a needle and pierce that person, he will not even know anything touched him because he's under a greater pain. If you carry the pain of our people, nothing can stop you. Nothing. No one can stop you. Nothing can even touch you and you feel it. I wake up in the morning, I talk to somebody. And that has been my experience for about 7 years now. I talk to somebody, a loved one. We talk and strategy. I listen to that one. By midnight, I look at that phone again. I look at that number. I cannot call that number again. You know why? Because the person I spoke to in the morning is nowhere to be found on the other side. He has been deleted. He has been killed by the forces of La Republic of Cameroon for no reason. That kind of burden. And the numbers are still there. The other day, I was just scrolling through my phone and see the numbers are there. Surprisingly, I've not deleted any. They are still there. They remind me of the reason why we must fight. Because if they have one wish before they finally gave up the ghost, was that we will not fail. We will not fail.
Oh, well, in talking about burdens, the third point that we also noted out from the speech was the solidarity with prisoners. President SAKO also highlighted the plight of those wrongfully arrested and imprisoned, warning that even if Ambazonian leaders were to surrender, those in prison would still face elimination. And so he explained that the fight for independence must continue, not just for the sake of Ambazonians, but also for those who have been wrongfully detained, who may not get justice. Let's get that as well.
So this is the time for us to fight. What happened to Comrade Abdul Karim? My old self would just be weeping and crying and saying and sharing my emotions and so on. Thank God my emotional self is now numb, not to say dead. The only thing I've learned to do now is to shrug the pain, learn my lesson from whatever is going on and go forward. Shrug the pain, shrug away the distraction, learn your lesson and go forward. So I hear he has been sentenced by the genocidal regime for life. Okay, one would expect that, right? Because what is your expectation of the devil? What do you expect from the devil? Good. The only surprise would have been if he was let go. So, what are the lessons learned? Our lesson should be that to all Ambazonians, all of us. Some of us are gradually drifting and creeping and trying to find, plow a middle ground. You are looking for a middle ground position where you are soft, you are a moderate, you can talk to La Republique, maybe you will make them see reason. La Republique de Cameroon and all their leadership, they don't reason. A reason is not in their DNA. You cannot reason with people who have no reasoning faculties. They are animalistic. They don't reason. They are Satan. All they know is evil. They fraudulently grafted us into their country. Evil. And by evil, they kept us. And by evil, they want to keep us. If somebody thinks that somehow we are the ones making it tough because we don't want to talk to them, if we had talked to them, they will change, then you are naive. And that is the naivety of some who think that if we can find middle ground and talk with these people, somehow, La Republique du Cameroon will change. The only thing that La Republique du Cameroon will understand is our departure. And that's going to happen by force. By force. Because a thief will not accept a negotiated settlement. Because when he goes to that table, he will not have any grounds to get anything at all. Because he is a thief. The person who will quickly accept some kind of logic, some kind of settlement, some kind of dialogue is somebody who knows that when I get to the table, I will put my facts on the table. I will prove my case. I will give them my evidence. And everything they ask, I will check every box. But the person who knows that he has been a thief from the beginning, he has lied from the beginning, he has been a fraud from the beginning, how will he come on the table to discuss? How will he come to the table how will he want to talk with you? What will he tell you that will convince you? So they are scared of the table because they lose before the discussion begins. So one thing that we know is that it has to happen to us, whether they like it or not. That is the paradigm. That is the formula. Ambazonia has to be free, whether La Republique likes it or not, because we are a free people.
Listening to that sound, it strikes so much emotion. So aside emotion, what is the call to action? For all we know, the present message was clear. The salvation of Ambazonian people depends on the collective efforts of everyone. And for that reason, Ambazonians must continue to fight for freedom. And so this message also serves as a rallying cry for Ambazonians to remain steadfast in this pursuit of independence and self-determination. Do you also want to look at the significance of this message and what its implications could be? Of course, the message has significant implications for the ongoing war in Ambazonia. It has a long way to prove the complexities and challenges that Ambazonians face every day for independence. And this deeply shows the need for continued international attention. And so the question is, how do you think La Republique du Cameroon will respond to President SAKO'S call to action and the demands of the Ambazonian people? And how will Ambazonians in general accept the president's speech ahead of Easter celebrations? And so Let's start with how Ambazonians would accept and, reflect on the speech and what the speech can mean for Ambazonians. Of course, our in-house analysts are here, and I want to know what their impression is with a few clips we're able to put together tonight. Barrister Mbeseha, let's start with you.
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity again. How will I take this message? I think the President's Easter message is largely to Ambazonians, and it should think as a rallying call in this struggle. The President compares this struggle to Jesus Christ carrying the cross. Carrying the cross to where? Carrying the cross of salvation. Remember, the bulk of Ambazonians no Easter if Christ had not died. So Christ buried it. He died. And there will be no salvation if Christ did not die. So I can't. In a larger context, the President is addressing everyone. I think every Ambazonian should consider himself or herself as carrying a piece of the cross to liberation. Everybody has a piece of the cross in different forms. The cross is really the wooden stick that Christ carried. Some of us, if not all, sitting here, we are carrying the cross in our own way. Be it in the form of insults, be it in the form of lies told against you, be it in the form of names you about. Do not be depressed. As the President says, you lose your emotions. In fact, you cease to be emotional. It ceases to be emotional. Seeing what is going on. How do you cry? Where do you start to be emotional? Is it Wazizi? Is it Maabi? Is it the children killed in Mamfe? Is it the Garubo? We've lost emotions. But the road to salvation is perseverance, he says. So Christ said, you remember, those of us who follow the Bible, when Christ gave up, he said, mission accomplished. On the cross, of salvation had accomplished. He gave up. I remember when Christ died, I said, if this is out, take this thing away, but let it be your will, not mine. And then he suffered. And so I think that every Ambazonian that the journey is difficult. And many crosses we have carried. The evidence we know. They will receive here. This that we see, the attempts to do this, to do that, to you or to the President in particular. It's part of the but perseverance is the thing. We must carry the cross of salvation. Where is our salvation? Our salvation is when we get to Buya. How do people do it? Is immaterial. That will not prevent them from calling this. They would. But we'll get to Buya tomorrow or the next week or the next month or next year. They will become good neighbors. You'll be surprised to find out they will have an embassy in Buya. And we'll have an embassy in Yaoundé. That's how things work. Like the Jews who killed Christ. They never believed that Christianity was going to spread around the whole world. And that region was going to be the largest region in the world. And so we should discourage the President. Just of us. Let us remember that every one of us is kind of salvation. Until cross to the end, no salvation. Salvation is joy. That is joy now. Remember on Good Friday when he killed Christ. Women were crying. People wept. People fled into bushes because they feared it would be killed. But today, Easter day, people are dancing, giving flowers. Easter has come because the killed son, the murdered son of God, has resurrected. The salvation has been done. The world is saved, in this case, from sin. In our own case, we shall be saved freedom.
All right, thank you so much. I loved the religious aspects you brought to it. I mean, there is hope and compassion in the resurrection. Barrister Fru, Ambazonians would be like, oh, Christmas message, we're fighting. New Year message, remain resilient. Easter message, keep fighting. How long do you think that they would have to hold on? In your words, would you put your words together with the president at this point to say, yes, I go with the president, keep holding on until we can no longer hold on, or keep holding on till it is over, like the message from the Bible?
Thank you, Onye. Since January 2018, I started feeling pain. I was in pain throughout the period that I was the defense counsel for all our people that were detained in Kondenge. I felt that pain throughout until when I got to the United States and I was going back, the pain was increased by what happened to me and I got back here. I'm now immune to pain. I am now immune to pain. You can prick me with any kind of thing. I am used to it now. The sentencing of Abdul Karim to life. Somebody would think that since I knew Abdul Karim very closely, I will be feeling pain. I'm immune to pain. Just like our Lord and Savior carried the cross and was bleeding under the cross, he was not feeling the pain. You ask the question, for how long are we going to continue to feel this pain? Onye, as long as it takes till the last man standing, Ambazonia must be free. The Easter message from the president is the best I've heard even from any theologian. It reminds me of the pain that those of us who are living under oppression have felt before. And we continue to think that we are still feeling the pain, we will not go anywhere. Try to reduce the pain and be immune to the pain. Even if they prick you, you will not hear. La Republique is an evil empire ruled by an evil man of 93 years old. Why the Holy Father, our Lord and Savior, keeps him alive is only him who knows. Because no human being at that age should still be alive and taking decisions that affect people. We have lost between 65 and 70,000 people. The pain has been such that we are all immune to pain. The Easter message from the president is clear. We have more than 2,500 of our people in the various prisons put by La République of Cameroon. And the number of our people that have been killed, slaughtered, extrajudicial killing, including Wazizi and others. Till today that we are talking, the body of Wazizi is nowhere to be found, but he was in their custody. They killed him, and they even announced to the family that he died, and they never delivered the corpse to the family. That is the wicked empire still living in this world in 2025. Everybody who goes to church on this Easter Sunday should reflect on what is happening to a few African people living in a yam-shaped territory called the Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. What is happening to them? Who is there to protect them? Only one person, our Lord and Savior. And through him, we shall overcome. We are going to fight and fight and fight until the last man standing, until that yam is free, for all our children, our grandchildren, our children's children. Onye, what can I tell you? It's pathetic, but we will overcome. We are not going anywhere. La Republic of Cameroon, if he has an agenda to kill every southern Cameroonian, he has not succeeded so far. He has killed. He has imprisoned. They are making, look, the other day, eight of their forces in Boya at a checkpoint almost killed 1,000 Cameroonians for money. 1,000 Cameroonians for money. The press, thank God the press immediately opened it up and the whole world saw, and they are now in detention. For how long? I don't know. But this man was stripped of all the money he had, was beaten to near death, and they came back and gave the money to the police state, to the state council. That money is now evident, and the man is in the hospital. He will survive. The question that I ask you: what did we do to these people? What did we do to these people? In the capital of the southern Cameroons, they don't think that we're supposed to sit in Bamenda. They went around killing children and dumping them in every junction of the town. For how long can they continue to do that? Only the Lord knows. Thank you, Onye.
All right, only the Lord knows. Probably tomorrow we'll get more revelation about that. Dr. Lobati, how do you receive this Easter message?
I receive it very well. I'll start with the Easter message and bring it home to us. You know, Jesus Christ was born to die as a sacrificial lamb for the remission of our sins. So basically, Christmas happened so that Easter can take place. At the same time, Lucifer foolishly thought that he was killing Jesus Christ and would get rid of him, and did not know that he would resurrect on the third day. Also, in there you had Judas, who tried to betray Jesus for some few pieces of silver, and he ended up committing suicide. So what I'm saying is that the Bible says that the Son of Man is going the way it was predetermined. He came to die for our sins, for the remission of our sins. But the Bible also says, woe to him by whom he is betrayed. And that's what happened to Judas Iscariot. And the devil failed woefully because Jesus resurrected. Now, how does that apply to us Ambazonians? When we were about to acquire our independence, Dr. Hammarjok, the Norwegian Secretary General of the United Nations, said that forcing the Southern Cameroons to be one together with La République du Cameroon is like forcing an inflated balloon under the ocean. One day it will come out. And we say that if a man says something and dies without reversing it, that thing that the man said will stand. So the prophecy that Southern Cameroons will emerge and be totally separated from La République du Cameroon, like an inflated balloon surrounded by water but no water inside the balloon, stands. As Southern Cameroons will emerge totally independent. Now, let's bring it to our situation. So, we are going through this hardship, just like Jesus went through the suffering, how they were spitting on him, slapping him, making a mockery of him, beating him. The women were crying. Then they crucified him and stabbed his side. That is the genocide we are experiencing in this former British Southern Cameroons. And at one point, they may think that they got us, but do not know that shortly thereafter, we're going to emerge as a totally free country. And in there, during this process, we have some of us who are trying to work with La République du Cameroon. They think that they can sit down with them and reason things out, and that maybe it will help the process. Those are those traitors that try to collaborate with La République or think that let them go and think together with La République how to solve this problem. In fact, If you sit down to discuss with the devil, you have already lost. You cannot negotiate with the devil. The only true solution and good solution as far as the devil is concerned is to cut off his head and to make sure he's dead. It's not sitting down and negotiating with him. This is exemplified in the case of Abdul Karim. Abdul Karim is bona fide and Southern Cameroonian. Barrister Fru knows he has been discussing with him even in Equinox Television, and he stands for our cause and he does not recognize La République du Cameroon. That's why he says the République du Cameroon courts don't have jurisdiction over his case because he does not regard himself as a La République citizen. But what did we see? When he went abroad, came back, he was riding on a horse, entered triumphantly into Bamenda, he was hailed, and La République seems to be afraid of the international community like Saudi Arabia since he's a Muslim and allowed him, people would think they would not touch him. And then he felt untouchable. So he started trying to talk with La République. He will visit the Bishop of Bamenda, who is sold out to La République du Cameroon. He even crossed paths with the governor and tried to talk with them. La République was just looking for the best time to get him. Eventually, it took a while, even over a year or two. They found some fictitious reasons to get him and lock him up. And even then, they were not trying to find a way to release him. They were just looking for a way to finish him off. And now they have finally said he's condemned to stay in prison for the remainder of his life. That is what La République du Cameroon is. They have already said they do not regard Southern Cameroonians to be anything. Biya, as the Francophones say, looks at Southern Cameroonians as second-class citizens. Their lives is worth nothing. And they don't even trust them when they try to work with them. That's why even if you're as collaborative as Atanganji or Diongute, they still don't believe you. So they deceive you to give up your Ambazonian wife and take a Bulu wife to monitor you in the bedroom, which they did to Diongute and even Atanganji. And when Diongute went to Bamenda, what did he say? He says it's time. The time has arrived for us to acquire our freedom. This is the time for us to restore our dignity. That thing in him, that truth in him came out. And the La République person that was guarding him came and said, hey, that's not what you're supposed to say. That's not what you're supposed to say. And then he tried to say, what I was meaning was something different. What I'm trying to say is that it is deep inside the spirit of Southern Cameroonians what the truth is. They know what it is. And even if they pretend to try and collaborate with La République du Cameroon, once in a while, that truth comes out. That's what came out of the mouth of Diongute, even though he has a Bulu wife controlling him inside his bedroom. And so La République does not believe and does not trust any Southern Cameroonian. And even when you do try to work with them, they'll look for the best way to get you. That's what they have done with Abdul Karim. And so, how does that apply to us? The way this thing is going to end is that Southern Cameroon is going to be totally independent. This enemy, you cannot sit down and talk with him. Who is the enemy? It is France using La République du Cameroon to maltreat us. And you can see the way France operates. What they are doing to us using La République du Cameroon, they have been doing in all other Francophone African countries like the Sahel, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Just this week, Macron gave 60 billion francs CFA to the president of Niger to allow France to come back and be collaborating with them. That means even though Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger
definitely get into.
Correct.
Dr. Lobati, let me cut you there, please.
Correct.
Yeah, let me cut you because I feel that you're very passionate about the Abdul Karim report, which is actually our next report. So before you delve into it deeply, I want us to, take a few steps for probably Ambazonians who are not aware of what the current situation is as it regards to Abdul Karim's issue. So I wouldn't want you to just delve in. Let's give a pretext to that. Then we'll come back and then have all the time to talk on this. I'm sure by that time, Mr. Tarh would also want to be part of this conversation because he's eager as well to express his thoughts when it comes to this particular issue. And so the Colonial Military Tribunal in Yaoundé, the capital of La République du Cameroon, has sentenced Abdul Karim Ali to life imprisonment. This ruling follows his abduction from Bamenda 3 years ago. Popularly known as a prisoner of conscience, Abdul Karim has always been vocal about the injustices of the colonizers in Ambazonia. On the 16th of April 2025, a military tribunal in Yaoundé sentenced Abdul Karim Ali to life imprisonment. The decision was made in his absence as he had not recognized the colonial tribunal's authority. The sentencing of Abdul Karim Ali, a respected scholar, peace advocate, and political analyst, to life imprisonment by La République du Cameroon's military tribunal on the 16th of April 2025 marks yet another dark chapter in the ongoing colonial repression of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. This ruling, delivered in his absence, has sparked international outrage, further showcasing the systematic injustices inflicted upon Ambazonians who dare to speak truth to power. Abdul Karim's story is one of resilience, intellect, and defiance. Known for his non-violence advocacy, Abdul Karim was abducted in 2022 from Bamenda by La République du Cameroon forces, without warrant, by the way, due process, or any clear charges, only for him to later appear before a military court in Yaoundé for 3 years. He has remained in unlawful detention. What has he been doing there? Enduring torture, solitary confinement, and psychological trauma, all for peacefully demanding justice and the right to self-determination for the people of Ambazonia. His case is not isolated. It is emblematic of a larger colonial playbook, silencing dissent, criminalizing identity, and suppressing the voices that calls out the daily atrocities committed in the once independent southern Cameroons. What is this for us? A pattern of illegalities. From Abdul Karim's abduction to his recent sentencing, the entire process has been marred by glaring legal and moral violation, illegal arrest and transfer. His seizure in Bamenda was done without due process, no warrant, no charges, no transparency. How about violation of civilian rights? Trying a civilian in a military tribunal blatantly contravenes both Cameroonian domestic law and international human rights standards. Abdul Karim's affirming his Ambazonian nationality consistently rejected the legitimacy of the La République du Cameroon tribunal. This, by the way, highlighted the illegality of persecuting a citizen of a foreign nation under colonial laws. This, of course, shows lack of fair trials. His legal team raised strong objections to the trial, especially in May 2024, challenging the jurisdiction of the court. These objections were ignored, and a sentence was passed without his presence. His detention at the said and now Kondengi Central Prison reflects their conditions Ambazonian detainees face, which of course is torture, overcrowding, denial of medical care, and prolonged solitary confinement. Would pause here and take a walk to what the president said in his speech. Even if Ambazonians at this point decides to surrender, what would happen to Ambazonians who are in the Kondengi prison? While you're thinking about that, looking at these patterns of illegality carried out by La République du Cameroon, you would agree that this report is more than a news. It is a mirror reflecting the ugly truth of colonial injustice. It documents the weaponization of law as a tool of repression by La République and the urgent need for international intervention. So for Ambazonians, I believe that it is a wake-up call. Abdul Karim's case should serve as a symbol of La République du Cameroon's fear of truth and intellectual resistance. It shows how no voice, no matter how peaceful, is safe under the current colonial setup. His life sentence is a desperate attempt by La Republic de Cameroon to extinguish the fire of revolution. But in doing so, they have only poured fuel on the flames of Ambazonians' collective struggle. If we want to move further to look at the implications of Abdul Karim's arrest for the liberation movement, you can say that the life sentence handed out to Abdul Karim's underscores yet again the illegality of La Republic de Cameroon's claim over the people of Southern Cameroons. And so by prosecuting a civilian in a military court, he does not recognize a regime not only violated international legal norms, but also affirmed the very basis of the Ambazonian liberation cause, that Ambazonia is a separate nation under occupation. And so this ruling also intensifies the urgency for international advocacy. And so the silent or slow response of the global world is often interpreted by the regime in Yaoundé as a green light to continue its campaign of repression. As such, there is a growing call for the world actors, the UN, to move beyond statements of concerns and towards concrete diplomatic, legal, and humanitarian intervention within the Ambazonian movement itself. Abdul Karim's case presents both a challenge and an opportunity. It challenges legal practitioners, human rights offenders, and political representatives to rise to the occasion and coordinate a more forceful, legal, and diplomatic response. His sentencing lays bare the need to document these violations systematically and build the case for international legal action. Moreover, the movement provides an opening to intensify pressure on the colonial regime through renewed calls for sanction, United Nations inquiries, and referrals of La Republic de Cameroon's repeated breaches to international courts. The path to justice may be long, but each case, like Abdul Karim's, Wazizi's, builds the evidence and moral momentum required to build the regime's accountability. Abdul Karim's imprisonment is not just a punishment for one man. It is a sentence imposed on truth, freedom, and resistance. But it also, at this point, exposes the desperation of a crumbling colonial regime, the seas it grip, slipping away. It is now up to Ambazonians and its allies of justice everywhere in the world to ensure that this injustice does not go unanswered. At this point, we have legal minds, those who are or have authorities in this field. And I really want to find out, at this point, what legal channels still exist to challenge Abdul Karim's sentencing. I'm not even talking about the international bodies here. At this point, what legal channels, or first of all, are there legal channels? If yes, what legal channels still exist to challenge Abdul Karim's sentencing? Barrister.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I love the look on your face. Let's start with you.
Onye, can you hear me?
All right.
Onye, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, that's amazing. I want to, I'm coming in for the sake of time. I want to appreciate you. I could see the way you presented this report with so much emotions, facts. It really highlights the importance of this platform, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation and the ABC Networks 24. You did it so amazingly and so well. Nowhere in the Cameroons are we going to have such a report at this time. And listening to your report there, I was so touched. Even some of the things I had to say, I would have to probably rephrase them. So I want to come in here now. You've done an amazing work. While you still hang with us a little bit, this evening is for ABC. I want to come in there. When you just asked the question, Barrister Mbeseha, Barrister Fru, are there any legal channels that we can use at this time in spite of the stakes involved, in spite of the cruelty that no other person in the world, any lawyer in the world would understand better than the two lawyers we have here now. You worked in that country and you know what the Cameroon court is about. Are there any legal channels? Let me take it on with you first, Barrister Fru.
Yes, buddy. Let me take you through memory lane. We have gotten 37 refugees from Tarapa State released, and a few other Ambazonians. Case in point, Afonso. Afonso is from Libialem, and if you look at the first video where they were marching on a man using a chair and using boots on him, that is Afonso. He was given 20 years, and when he went on appeal, the appeal carried down to 5 years, and he has served 6, so he's out now. And the 37 people from Tarapa State were given 20 years each. They went to the Court of Appeal and they were released. The only remedy is an appeal. Or, failing that, opposition to the judgment in absentia. It's not final, so you can oppose that judgment and go back and ask a retrial. Is it worth our effort? Is it worth our effort? Abdul Karim is somebody who kind of betrayed the cause midway. When he rode that white horse into Bamenda after spending some time in Kondenge, said, did he actually believe that La Republique will not come after him? Because he started collaborating with them, doing everything with them. Going to the bishop to visit the cardinal who came, and the bishop brought. He was the Muslim leader, the Muslim leader who went there against my advice, against the advice of Dr. SAKO. He started collaborating with them. Even when baby Tato was killed in Bamenda, Abdul Karim acted ultra-virus and went with the regime. What happened that he was caught and detained is still a mystery. What is his crime is still a mystery. But the only thing that he can do now is to oppose the absentia judgment and ask for retrial. That is him. That is his take. As for us, the Southern Cameroon government, while we are still here and fighting, we will get every Ambazonian out of that jungle. How we will do it, God will give us the way, but it is already opening. We will get them out. For judicial, I have lost all confidence in the Cameroon judiciary. How can a military court be trying civilians and sentencing them to life? And just about a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, they sentenced a series of Ambazonians for 20 years with no, including a La Republique colonel, Colonel Kiko, and the wife. 20 years, not for no reason. And the reason being, the Court of Appeal, go to the Court of Appeal, they will release you like they have released the others. Well, let's wait and see, Paddy. But whether they release them or not, we don't have any hopes in the judicial system in Cameroon. So we'll just have to keep fighting, both diplomatically and on the ground, and to liberate our people and take our people from those dungeons. La Republique will have no choice but to give us our people. That is it.
Amazing. Barrister Mbeseha, please stop. Okay, I had to mute your sound just a moment. We muted your sound because you were getting some obstructions from there. Let me give you some sound. Please go ahead.
Are you okay now?
That's fine
Are you
now.
getting me?
Please. Yes, go ahead, please.
I was saying that the trial, the so-called trial of Abdul Karim, is not a legal trial. It's pure political trial. It's pure political. As to whether they will appeal or not, they will surely appeal. They have a series of lawyers. But for our own understanding, we should know what it is all about. You know, he said things like, if you see what has been going on with our people, you will realize that there are different categories of sentencing. Abdul Karim falls within the highest level of life imprisonment. They are not literally 19 or 20 or 37. It's classified very high there. I don't want to deal with him as a victim. Whatever thing he did, he did not merit this. Because, the problem is this. Abdul Karim raised a number of issues which are legally very, very important and also politically relevant. Abdul Karim said that he would not go to the court in Yaoundé because he is not a Cameroonian. Whether he's a Cameroonian or not, that's an issue for international law to determine. But even if he was a Cameroonian, Abdul Karim raised a second point. As a Cameroonian, under Cameroon law, if he committed a crime in Bamenda, he should have been taken to the Bamenda court. Even their military tribunal is also found in Bamenda. So by their own constitution, where you commit a crime, if there's any, you should be tried where the offense was committed. This was not done. This is an important issue that he raised. The third point was that, look, living here, if you want to try me in Bamenda. The third point he said that, he said, look, we are not supposed to be in a military tribunal. I'm not supposed to be one. I've never been a military guy. I've always been a civilian. And by Cameroon law, they have signed all treaties, international and otherwise, that ban the trial of civilians in military tribunals. So those are important issues that he raised legally, and they are genuine. If they choose to try him as an Ambazonian, they do sometimes try. They can try a foreigner in your court. But there's a way to try them. Like they try Ahijo. Ahijo was out. You can try people in abstention. You can try people who do commit a crime in your country. But the rule should be clear. A trial should be open. Evidence should be adduced publicly. If you are familiar with courts, no courtroom in the world is sealed. All trials must be open. I'm sure this is the case. Evidence must be. It's not enough for you to court and say, well, you must adduce evidence to support whatever thing you are saying. On record, I'm not sure there's any evidence they brought against Abdul Karim. So his trial is purely political. Should he get out of it? Of course he will get out of it, God willing. Because this takes me back to what the president said in his New Year message, in his Easter message. The president said, look, we compared Christ. Christ was a man who had disciples and apostles. Even his own apostles, Peter, denied him. In the face of that difficulty, Peter denied him. In the whole carrying of the cross, nobody was willing to help him. They forced Simon of Cyrene to help him because they feared that he would die on the way. It's the same thing that we're facing here. People who abandon us, if we're expecting help from the international community, it is our fight. Christ carried the cross right to the end. The only person who helped him was Simon, who was forced to carry it. And so that's the bigger picture in this thing, looking at it from the Bible context of what the president said, looking at it from the legal position of the law. Or what they have done, they cannot be the peer said. At any time they are willing to set you free, they will set you free. Just like they set the 39 from Taraba. What did they do? What did they do differently from Sisiku and others? So they keep you there as a political toy to use you as a bargaining chip. But Again, for us who are talking, just not venture to make Abdul Karim only of those guys who is a victim, a criminal. Even if he was cooperating with them, what crime did he commit then for them to jail him to life? They should have been giving him a decoration for helping them, but they dump him there. Which, to quote from my friend UN Uchiba Nelson, they use you and dump you. Again, summarily, Abdul Karim and others are just lucky to be alive. They simply kill people. You will go through the trauma, the president says. And by the time you come out, you might have lost so many things in your life, even including your own family. Remember, this, our guy, people go to prison like that and they come out completely devastated. That is just part of the struggle. We hope it doesn't happen to us. But if it does come, we have to bear it. Knowing that, for example, from Abel Mukom, if you remember, the two Abel Mukom in 1970 went to jail. By the time he came back after close to 10 years, his wife had disappeared. He had lost his wife, whom he left in Cuba. And so those are the traumas of the struggle. So our brothers and sisters and whoever is in jail because of this struggle, in Yaoundé, in Bamenda, in Boya, wherever, victims. And they should not discourage you. For those of us sitting here, as the president said, we're carrying the cross. We'll fight this thing, fight it until we win. We'll only be lucky to have a certain Simons of come to help us carry the cross. But somebody might force person in this context, one country, to help us carry this cross. And so that's my take. Abdul Karim has done nothing wrong, just a victim of this war. They choose the people the way, depending upon the room. Maybe he was leaking out the stones to him. They know they'd release him tomorrow. Tell us what they've done to him. And so poor Karim, Abdul Karim, just take the courage. Just know that you, like many others, are just lucky. Otherwise, you'll be dead. They cut people's heads without any justification. And to conclude, I think this is one of the good examples. We're talking about the TPS. This is one of the good examples that our people are doing the policy there. They should take it to the State Department. See what is happening to people home. I think any American government will be embarrassed that you catch people in military to resist jail life. Is there a country where people under the TPS should go back to? That should be a good argument to support our argument for the TPS to be prolonged. Over to you.
Amazing, amazing indeed. Dr. Fred Lobati already started talking about it, so I don't want to belabor the point. We're going to come back to it right after the break. We'll get into the Office of the Secretary of State for Communication. And gentlemen, I implore you to just stay with us again, because we'll get again back to this analysis. There are some intriguing questions I want to ask you on aspect relating to how Ambazonians are shifting and how they too might not learn from the lessons that the president is calling them to learn from, and may become victims of betrayal, or what is seemingly some form of betrayal by the consideration of some Ambazonians. Right after this break, we'll be right back. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
Get ready for an evolution in broadcasting. ABC Networks 24 proudly presents Mission 2025, a groundbreaking launch that will change the way you experience television.
Beginning this Saturday, April 19, 2025, ABC Networks 24 ushers in a new era with 24-hour live programming that will keep you informed and inspired around the clock. Witness the power of cutting-edge technology as ABC Amba TV elevates its broadcast standards to the pinnacle of modern-day viewing.
All your favorite shows are back and better than ever, including Downtown ABC Amba News, and military briefings. Plus, explore the rich tapestry of Ambazonia with our Amba history and engage in critical discussions in ethics for an emerging nation. Experience the redefined classics that you love alongside thrilling new shows set to captivate Ambazonians across the globe.
But that's not all. Mission 2025 introduces brand new programming like Global Business News Today, offering in-depth analysis of markets, industrialization, and global trade. Dive into the heartbeat of Ambazonia with county roots, exploring the sociology and governance from rural to urban landscapes.
Wake up to Ambazonia Arise, your premium morning show delivering news, social media buzz, and newspaper insights to start your day informed and connected.
Join us for Mission 2025, where innovation meets tradition and the future of television in Ambazonia begins, only on ABC Networks 24.
Stay tuned this Saturday as we embark on this thrilling new journey. Don't miss out.
Here comes the dawn of Mission 2025, your window to the world. Starting this Saturday, be a part of it. Subscribe and donate now.
And that is exactly why we're here this evening, why we're calling all Ambazonians to join us. It's been a long journey. And just the few seconds before I bring up Dr. Mungwa, I'd like to tell you a summarized story. About 7 years ago, the cabinet of then interim government under the acting president, just few months after he took over office, had arrived at a very difficult decision to begin what we now call ABC Networks 24. That is Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. And I'd like to highlight that there is no difference between the two administratively. The other one is simply an expansion. And we have been through many phases. We've fought many fights. And here we are today. When the cabinet made that decision, and the Secretary of State for Communications and IT at the time, Chris Arno, brought it to us at the Communications Department. I was honored at that time, the Chief of Staff, Dr. Luis Fonap, would entrust the project. And a lot of people don't know that I was in Yaoundé, and we took the risk to have started one of the first streaming of ABC in Victoria, or you want to call it Limbe. That was how it all started. I'll be discussing more on some of the progress we've made and why Mission 2025 with others in the Zoom when given the opportunity. But for now, we've had the Secretary of State for Communications and IT react to a couple of issues, trying to crack down on comments, ensuring that government stand is what stays the ground. And we are delighted to have Dr. Mungwa, after a very long time, join us again for a very brief state of the revolution, probably to focus on issues on TPS and diplomacy and the stand of the government. Dr. Mungwa, I'll be giving to you the floor now before you take a few questions. You want to tell Ambazonian what the government stands for, please.
Thank you, Paddy. Dear Ambazonians, dear televiewers, it is my privilege to be here today to talk about the position of the government as far as the TPS is concerned. I think a couple of days ago, or when this information regarding the possible cancellation of TPS came to attention, the president gave out an audio, which I believe that this audio has been received by all Ambazonians, at least most of them. In that audio, I think he did mention the position of the government, but I'm just going to reiterate it and hopefully to give more flesh to what has been transmitted today. After we got that information, we read it on New York Times. It came out on Reuters and Fox News. I called the president and we met with the lobbyists and we looked into the possible response. And as the president indicated, the United States government, it's made up of three branches. You have the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. And we all know that the day-to-day running of the government is actually performed by the executive. They are the driver, at least they are on the driver's seat. And so, as he mentioned, Donald Trump ran on immigration. And now that he's president, he has a mandate to deliver on that. So it is it's on its agenda, top of his agenda, to prove to the American electorate that he is going to stop immigration. Whatever the justification for it is, that is his mandate. But we are left with the legislative and the judiciary. As President Dr. SAKO mentioned, even before the last government left power, we have been working with the legislature on this particular issue. I've been working with all the lawmakers, and as some of you must have seen, we actually had a renewal version of the TPS already signed by 22 congressmen. So where do we stand now? We are going to pursue that path with the congressmen and to make sure that it is tabled in Congress and we see what the outcome is. And we just have to be very clear here. Let's understand what is going on. The Congress is majority Republican and minority Democrats. Okay? And that's very important. So if we are lucky to have Republican congressmen who believe that we have a very valid case and come on board for that renewal to be approved, that's going to be wonderful. But if they stick along party lines, it's going to be very, very difficult. But that is outside our capability. We cannot force congressmen to do something that their party line thinks otherwise. So we are working with the legislature and those that have heard our call and are willing to help. And so that is where we stand right now. So we're waiting for the outcome when it is presented in Congress. So that's where we stand. But now, what about the judiciary? Because if something doesn't work in the legislature, you have the right to take it to the courts. And this is very critical because that is exactly what Dr. SAKO was talking about. Most or all of those on that list, 7,000 plus, how much have they sacrificed to this government in exile so that we can fight for them? We've heard all sorts of messages, negative messages, that one I think, and so on and so forth. Most of these people don't really care much about what is happening. So in as much as a government in exile, we can do all we can in order to help them. But there's a certain point where we cannot go beyond. And why do I say that? Because if you want to take it to court, it means you have to hire lawyers. We don't just have the money to do that. And just imagine, of the 7,900 on the TPS list, imagine just 4,000 of them are Southern Cameroonians They're willing to give 1/10 of the draft. That is $100. 1/10. 4,000 times 100. That's a 400,000. That is going to move mountains. We are going to hire lawyers who can take this all the way to the Supreme Court. But we don't. We are just being very pragmatic about it. And that's why at this point, we are calling on all other groups or all other, I don't know how to define them, who are equally claiming that they can work to resolve this matter. Let them come on board. Work with your congressmen. Work with your senators. See what can be done in order to push this dossier to its finish line. Because at this point, we'll continue working with legislation, with the legislature, but we can't go beyond that. We can't go beyond that. The top priority for Ambazonia is for us to have independence. And at this point, we cannot sacrifice that just for the sake of trying to extend the TPS. So that's where we are. But we are very engaged with the Trump administration in other matters that relate to our sovereignty, and that is still on the table, and we're working very hard to move it forward. But as far as the TPS is concerned, we just have to be pragmatic. We just have to be pragmatic. So we are continuing with the legislature. We are working with the congressmen who have signed that document. We have met with a lot of them in the past. They know exactly what our position is, and they're very, very positive, working towards getting that piece of that document signed. But remember, we are in a Republican Congress now. It's not a Democratic Congress, it's Republican. So the majority are Republicans. So if it goes to a vote and we don't have Republicans sign on that list, on that document, that is it. We just have to proceed in other matters. And that's where, as the president said, instead of challenging us, they can join hands to see what they can do in order to help. And we'll welcome that. Over to you, Paddy.
Amazing, Dr. Mungwa. I'm happy you brought in some of the things. I am saying this with no form of pride, but I think it's a privilege that for the past 2 years, I have been in the forum that you are in, the same forum with the lobbyist, the main lawyer and lobbyist who helps the government to talk with some of these congressmen and to penetrate the United States government system in the way he has been doing. And so I felt really astounded a few days seeing as some certain Ambazonians, I wouldn't really say they're ignorant, but actually being diabolic. And because of the silence of the government, trying to water down every effort that the president or the government is doing. As we're speaking, I'm going through this platform there. Most recently, the president's executive assistant, about 5 months or 4 months ago, was added. That's Professor Table. You, myself, and others, I don't want to call the name, with the lobbyists. I can see how many meetings organized with congressmen by the lobbyists that the president has to attend. So my question now is, I'm saying this purposefully so that the public is aware. My question is, of these congressmen I know, especially during the months of October, November, December, January, especially after Trump's inauguration, the appointments you were having with, sometimes you will be there with the president, or most times, if I would say, were many. Of these 22 congressmen, how many of them that I know you met were Republicans?
Zero. They were all Democrats. In fact, that's correct.
Okay.
And in one occasion, I met the staffer, in just myself and and our lobbyists, and we're able to lay our case. So it's been extremely intense, and we have to understand this, that when a government runs on a platform, that is extremely powerful. If immigration wasn't on the platform, it would have been a totally different story. It means that those Americans, I feel those who were here during the elections, I mean, I'm sure even outside the country, you saw how important immigration was. And it will be very difficult for Trump to ignore it, in as much as there's a real legal and founded basis for our case to be ruled differently. I think Barrister Mbeseha, I want to take this occasion to thank our three great panelists who've been doing a remarkable job to enlighten Ambazonians about especially what is happening within the United States vis-a-vis our fight for sovereignty. The government came to power because of immigration. I think it was one of the issues, the immigration and the economy. And they must deliver. It is, we don't have a choice in that. But regardless, we still have to fight. We have to demonstrate that our case is different. We are not changing the tone. We are not saying that because the government came to power on the basis of on the platform of migration, we are going to turn back. No, we are not. We are going to provide all the evidence. We are going to make sure that the language is clear. We are going to bring to the table what is actually happening back in Ambazonia today. I'm sure you must have noticed that even Nash actually published what is happening, the frustrations that Ambazonians are going through in the hands of local La Republic policemen. That's part of the evidence. And Nash is a Republican, for those who do not know that. Nash is a Republican. He's not a Democrat. And he recognizes and he sees exactly what is happening to us on a daily basis. So we are not holding back. But we just want to make Ambazonians understand that in this fight, we may lose some, we may win some, but we want to win the war. These are all battles. We may lose some battles, but we want to win the war. And I think we are going to win the war. I'm very certain about that. But I can understand the frustration of those Ambazonians who may be at harm's way if they go back. But I hope that's going to be it will be short-lived, because we are hitting where it is most important, because we are all prisoners. We have to win the war.
Very quickly, I want you, for the sake of time, so we can get into the Zoom meeting and begin activities of today. And the panelists are still here. I'm going to be bringing them shortly. Are you and the lobbyists considering approaching the lobbyists? I know he's working on that. But are you considering, or is the government, not you as Dr. Mungwa, is the government considering approaching more Republican congressmen as we speak? And I know of the relationship with Marco Rubio, which we have discussed on air before, but do we think before now and June, that's enough, a lot of time for so much to change? Policies can be influenced, the law can be reversed. Is there any reconsideration of the government's diplomatic strategy as we speak?
That is a strategic position that we have to take. I know where you are driving us to. Of course, we are going to talk to all those who know our story, regardless of which party they are from. We just want to make sure that certain actions that will require will not negatively affect the higher objectives of our fight. I don't know if I make it clear to you.
Yeah, you made it clear. I know that you are avoiding to say something, which I wanted you to say, but I get it. And I applaud the work that the government is doing already. It's just unfortunate that a lot of
Let me make
Amazon.
it very clear to you. If it
Yeah,
was a situation where these people on the TPS, they made a contribution to the government that we are going to provide $100. We are 4,000 of us. We are 5,000 of us. We wouldn't have to go through the Republicans. We go straight to court.
yeah,
We'll find the lawyers to be able to break it down for us and make sure that it is that doesn't go through. But we don't have it, so we can't go literally begging in a way. What are you going to say? You are going to just show them the evidence that everybody has seen. That evidence is there for everybody to consume. But whether it's going to change their political alliance, that's a different story altogether. You think they don't know? They don't have to wait for us to know about it. They know about it. But is it aligned with their political mission? Their political mission is far more important than our problem. That's one thing you have to understand. Are you getting my point? Their political stance, as far as immigration is concerned, is far more powerful. However, we can be lucky that they would look into the evidence and say, well, in this particular case, let us make it go. But on the other hand, if we had the financial resource, if we have $500,000 today, we are going to hire lawyers. You don't hire lawyers with, on bended knees, cap in hand. You hire them with money. Some have even criticized us paying lobbyists. What do they want us to do? People think that when you tell people that, oh, they are killing people in Ambazonia, it moves people. You think people are dying only in Ambazonia throughout the world? Have you seen what is happening in Ukraine?
Yeah.
But what did they do recently? They gave $50 billion to Trump. I want to buy our weapons. They didn't come cap in hand begging. They brought money. People are being burned and killed. So Ambazonians have to understand that this war is our war. It is us to liberate ourselves. It is not crying on the streets. We have gone past demonstrations. Let me make it very clear.
Yeah.
We are actually working with the with legislature. We have met with legislatures and we have prepared resolutions to make sure that it favors us. That's where we are at this point. It's not standing at the roadside with placards. We have gone past it. Do not drag us back. We have direct communication with Democrats and Republicans. Direct communication. And we just want to make sure that what we do fits within the strategic interests of Ambazonia, and at the same time, we are not going to behave as if we are the ones controlling the United States government. We are not. We are very mature in this case.
The beautiful thing is the fact that you have tested what a lot of Ambazonians felt probably were innuendos or were just making suggestions. We saw what has happened within the past 2 weeks, and you came so hard on it. People trying to take responsibility and blaming the government for doing silent diplomacy. I didn't respond because I saw those who were talking as being ignorant. But I'm happy that you are here this evening. I ask you the last question so that we can get back to the Abdul Karim story and the others there, because your contribution on that aspect is also important. Would you tell Ambazonians this evening that we are in a good place with our diplomatic endeavors, especially with the United States of America?
Much better than we've ever been. Much better than we've ever been. Because ever since we came through the door, we're able to sit down, a lot of things have happened. And I'm not here to claim or to say certain things that will jeopardize the process. That is why I stop. We are in the house now.
You're not
in the corridor. We are not loitering in the corridor, hoping to find somebody who may recognize us and ask, what are you doing here?
And take pictures, probably.
Or take pictures. Or stand in front of a colonial building. Or stand in front of a podium and make signs as if you are speaking to the crowd when you're speaking to nobody. We have gone past it. We have gone past it. You will never see us taking any pictures with anybody. Let me tell you, if we show you the pictures we have taken, it will be full, it will be at least 50.
The truth, the interesting thing about it is that, Dr. Mungwa, I remember during the inauguration when I was talking with you, I just say this publicly and passively. And the pictures that we have, even a lot of people, I had the president's invitation. I had it. And the president wanted me not to publish it. The president actually denied giving the pictures that they had in there. And even the pictures when you people had dinner before Thibault Nach was moving into his temporary duty, and you people went out to dinner. There are even images of that. I'm sure if that was published, that's a recent happening, you know. If that was published, I don't know what would have happened, but these are some of the images or the facts that we are privy to. It was interesting that you did not just go and take pictures with Thibault Nach, but you had dinner and discussed with him well ahead of time before he went into the State Department to do a temporary duty. There's some things that there's some statements he has made. I don't want us to get to that because it has a lot to do with controversy and we have so much to discuss. But I want us to talk, as I bring the other panelists back, I want us to talk on the Abdul Karim issue, and I'll begin with you, Dr. Mungwa. You are well informed of some of the things that Abdul Karim did. When you look at this situation, that at the end of the day, he was a superhero from Old Town in Bamenda, walking the streets, visiting offices, playing what was called then a leadership role at the home front, and insinuations. There were those who even thought, those who understood the Bulu mafia, and said this man can only be set up to effectively be doing what he's doing in Cameroon. I do not even think that we should do that at this time because we need to be sympathetic now that he's licking his own wounds and fight as we are out. But what would you say to those Ambazonians who are still thinking that the Biya government or the Bulu regime has anything good in them?
I think it's very simple. I think before this, earlier on, you actually played the audio that the president talked about Easter and ultimately talked about the case of Abdul Karim. And he said something that rang very deep in me when I heard that video or that audio, that you cannot negotiate with a thief. How can you negotiate with a thief? Something that he has stolen. You want to negotiate with him. You must be out of your mind. I definitely sympathize with the case of Abdul Karim. Whatever he has done, the crime that he has committed, or the sort of negative statements he made, but he is an Ambazonian and he has fought for Ambazonia. He definitely has made some mistakes. We don't know where he had all this influence, but he has definitely stood for Ambazonia. And at the point where we'll have our independence, we are the last hope for Ambazonia. Let me make this very clear. The government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, under the leadership of Dr. Samuel Ikomesaku, is the last hope for Ambazonians. Without us, we will cease to exist, period. And therefore, we believe that we are the people to liberate people like Abdul Karim, regardless of whatever errors he might have committed in the past. Just like all of them in jail, just like all the 2,500, any Ambazonian who's jailed today. We want to liberate all of them. We are not perfect people, but we want every Ambazonian to be free. And this government, that is what is at the top of our agenda. We've been working behind the scene, whether you Ambazonians are jailed in the United States or they're jailed somewhere else in La République du Cameroon. We always think about them, and we have developed strategies that are actually put with a certain roadmap. I'm not going to talk about it now. There are certain strategies will be ignited as soon as we see certain things happen, especially within the Trump administration. It's going to necessitate a certain action from us. And all that has been laid out by the president, our president, Dr. Samuel Ikomesaku. So we are watching things very closely. We are monitoring events very closely. That's all I can say here.
Yeah, thank you very much. And on behalf of this crew, you're welcome on board. I'm glad that Ambazonians, we're going to be rounding this section soon, so we can all join the Zoom meeting to start. I want the coordinators of the Zoom meeting to type to me what their program is. I am holding this because I want to get a cue from them as to when we are to begin. So maybe I can't listen to the Zoom now since I'm here, but just type. I believe you can hear us as we are doing this. The coordinators of the program, please indicate. I'm also calling on Ambazonians who are watching us via YouTube and Facebook and all of our social media platforms. The Zoom link is out. We're going to share it again for those who have not received it. The Zoom link is out. Endeavor to connect and be a part of this evening. Dr. Fred Lobati, you had some thoughts there with regards to what Abdul Karim did and his plight. And I remember Onye interrupted you because she wanted to coordinate the program constructively in a way that was just done. Maybe you want to complete those thoughts before I ask some technical questions to the lawyers as we transition into the Zoom, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paddy, and everybody for giving me the opportunity to bring out the points I wanted to make. I think that La République is consistent with itself because, remember, La République has never ever truly had independence, and La République is controlled by the French. So, in the context of finding out why is the military court judging what they call civilians, what happened is this. France lost the Indochina-Vietnam War. Messner was there. He was humiliated. When France lost and left, the US went there to rescue the French. Then in Algeria also, again, he was there and they lost. And his last stand was in sub-Saharan Africa when the French sent him to Cameroon as the governor of La République du Cameroun before they became independent. And he decided to take vengeance on the UPC militants who were seeking to liberate themselves from France. And he said they will use every means, military as well as psychological, to win the fight against those who are asking for independence from France. And if you have time to watch, you will find out a video where this Messmer was speaking, and he said they will use the military to judge everybody who is threatening the French government. And they went after Nyobe and the others that you know about. And you know that only a semblance of independence was given to La République du Cameroun and no true independence. So they put in place military courts that judge people that were threatening the French government. And those military courts have continued in La République du Cameroon till today. So that anybody who threatens the French control of La République du Cameroon government is taken to a military tribunal and judged, even though people may perceive them as being civilians. So in that sense, they are consistent with themselves. La République has remained under French military rule since so-called independence till today. That's why they remain under military rule till today. Now, coming back to the point I was trying to make, that we need to know who our true enemy is. For us in Ambazonia, we keep talking about La République du Cameroon, who is only a junior partner to the true enemy, who are the French. And so they do everything to eliminate us, as written in the La République du Cameroon document, how to conserve power in Cameroon, regarding Ambazonians, or people of the former British Southern Cameroon, as second-class citizens who will never ever be president, like they stole Frundi's presidency, and that they will kill us, they will fight against us. As they said, they started the war against us, falsely accusing us separatists and terrorists, and that what matters is not how many have been killed, but how many are still alive, maybe as a plan to see how to eliminate those who are still alive. And that they will do everything to make sure that the Francophones regard us as their enemies. That's why they are silent and have no pity on us. That's the document that BS Bulu Beti group has written in collaboration with the few that they have co-opted. But like I said, they are a junior partner to the French. So let's go back to see what the French do. Now, the French are losing control in the Sahel. That is Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And these are homogeneous societies, primarily Muslims. And they have liberated themselves and thrown away the French, even refusing the French language and throwing away the Franc CFA and things like that. But what have the French done? They, even in Burkina Faso, they have attempted over 100 coups d'etat to kill the man who is there. Just this week, the French were offering 60 billion francs, which is just over $100 million, to the current leader of Niger to compromise him to let the French come back in and take control of the uranium. What I'm trying to say is that even after you think you have liberated yourself from the French, they will keep doing everything to come back and control you. And so this is not a fight to think that you have won after you believe you have liberated yourself. We have to remain vigilant, like the president said, all the time. Even after we really arrive in Boya, we have to be vigilant, because they can send their agents, former British Southern Cameroons, to come among us who will try to betray us. But again, like I said, taking the example of Easter, that Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus, even though Jesus had to die for our sins, and then he committed suicide. So anybody among us who goes to collaborate with La République du Cameroon, La République does not believe in you. They may seem to be working with you, give you something, but they will still find a way to finish you off. And that's what happened to Karim. And I pray that he will be rescued, and all of our brothers and sisters who are in jail will be free. Those are some of the points I wanted to bring up. Thank you very much.
That's amazing. So as we get into the close, I want to come to the barristers now, and then Dr. Mungwa will give us a closing remark just for this statement. I understand that Dr. Mungwa is supposed to be addressing the stakeholders too for this campaign ABC is doing this evening. So we're going to be rounding up now within the next 10 minutes. But I want to come to you, the lawyers, before Dr. Mungwa closes this segment of our conversation. I'll begin with you, Barrister Mbeseha. We have seen what has happened with Abdul Karim. You are those who fight the case or the petition to the ICC, talking to the United States government that might be considering that some Ambazonians will have to be deported. How well referenced do you think the Abdul Karim case is, Mr. Mbeseha? Please talk to us. Mr. Mbeseha, can you hear my sound?
I don't think you can hear.
Mr. Fru, let me begin with you. Hear me?
Your question was actually breaking. I didn't get you actually. You were breaking a lot.
Let me take it again. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I suspect you're multitasking your network. So I'm asking you started talking about how the Trump administration can take this typical case. This is a person, he was in America, he toured the war and decided that he was going to go back home to fight and to fight as a civilian. He never touched arms. He was not against the armed struggle, but he advocated for a peaceful march to Boya a couple of times. How would you talk to the Trump administration, probably listening to us at this time, referencing Abdul situation?
Well, I had said earlier in my earlier statement that, see, talking on the TPS, I said it is just part of the immigration policy. But that immigration policy includes the human part of it, humanitarian component of immigration, which does not violate President Trump's overall policy on immigration. And so everything we approach him on this issue, or the administration on this issue, we should emphasize on the human rights aspect of it. All American governments, Republicans and Democrats, care a lot about human rights. Their officials, Marco Rubio, who comes from Cuba, they care about human rights. And so when we tailor our arguments, they might listen to us. They might listen to us. And so that's what I can say about that. But before I close that point, see, listen to Dr. Mungwa. It recalls, I want to recall, and I appreciate all what they have done. That earlier, sometimes in January, late January or early February, on this very, very platform, I said something which I think holds till today. I insisted that our people ahead of us, should be intelligent strategics, which they are doing, not educated noisemakers. In other words, think strategically, talk less, which the government is doing. And I want to applaud them for that. And he has added something which I've been trying to say all the time. We have long since passed the era of demonstrations. We have long since passed that. And so, again, summarily, we shall overcome. We should expect help, but little help. But help will come. But we are the principal fighters. We have to fight. And I will only add to what Dr. Mungwa said again. We are calling on those on the TPS list, each to come on board and pay even $1, pay even $100. That's not enough. I think every Ambazonian who is here in the United States and abroad should chip in something. Because it is not about the people on TPS alone. You might have a sister who will come in today or tomorrow. You have a brother who will come in today or tomorrow, who, going down the road, might fall into the same soup. They might exhaust all what they have come in for, and they will be on deportation. But you need to take guard against that. I had earlier said last week that you see, most of these people got to where they are because they didn't get the right counseling. They got here, they didn't get the right counseling, they refused to get one. And I spoke from a privileged position. There are people who came to this country who are seeking asylum. A good number of them were referred to us, to me in particular. And when they came to me, they told me, well, my brother, my sister who is doing this thing told me to go and see Mr. Kometa, to go and see SCNC, and those sort of things. And so we don't take money. You have to be careful what, don't get into deportation before you start to fight back. And so they are advised strongly that before you go to that level of deportation, because that's the last stage, seek the appropriate advice. The appropriate advice, I think, we don't take any advantage over that. That we can give you the advice. Whatever thing we give is free. We have written a certain number of documents for people seeking asylum, and we never ask a dime. And so let all Ambazonians come in and chip in something. Stop wasting your time to go and demonstrate in Washington, D.C., spending days and going to hotels. Chip in your widow's mite. Because this is only salvation. This is only salvation. For the Abdul Karims and those who are in jail, we tell them to remain encouraged. You are carrying your own piece of the cross, and we shall come to prevail. Over to you.
Amazing. Barrister Fru, please.
Yes, before I go to the TPS, let me say take 30 seconds and talk about the case of Abdul Karim. Abdul Karim, I've not spoken to him now for about 5 years, but I know him for being a man of principles because I've dealt with him a lot. A man of principles. He may be a political harlot, but he's a man of principles. He had taken the position that he's an Ambazonian and he is not a Cameroonian. That he holds dearly. And that is why he did not go to court. All what was done in court reminds me of what they did to Ayuk Tabe and 9 others. They tried them in absentia without lawyers who were not there, who boycotted, and they tried it beginning at 2 a.m. in the morning and sentenced them at 5:45 in the morning to life. Abdul Karim did not go to court, so there was no evidence adduced. And if you are not represented by a lawyer in that court, I'm talking from my experience, if you are not represented by a lawyer or you come there, all they want is your presence. If you are present, they will adduce evidence. Without you, no lawyer can open his mouth to defend you. That's the military tribunal. You only defend somebody when he is standing there. So Abdul Karim has taken that position and he has been sentenced to life. We have a duty now to fight and liberate him. Now, talking about TPS, Paddy, I have no illusions. If by the 7th, they have not made a distinction between us and La République du Cameroon, as far as that TPS is concerned, and award us some kind of TPS. I mean, our people who are on TPS now, I'm expecting that the population of prisoners in Yaoundé and Douala will increase because all our people who will be deported will be imprisoned by La République du Cameroon. I've said that is a regime, that's the devilish regime on this face of the earth, particularly in Africa. They will do whatever they will do. I'm not even sure that some of them will not be killed. But as soon as they arrive, it's either Douala Airport or in Semalen, they'll be picked up and put in jail, just like they did with the others. That is my fear. And if that happens, well, we have to keep fighting, both diplomatically and on the ground, and hoping that we shall be free and they will be free. Thank you very much. Was I talking to myself?
No, you're talking to us. Thank you very much.
I finished.
Thank you, Dr. Mungwa. Maybe you want to round up this segment before we close and go to the Zoom.
Yeah, thank you, Paddy. I'd like to thank our panelists. It's always so powerful when I listen to Dr. Lobati and our two distinguished barristers who always shed light into what is happening both here in the United States and in Ambazonia. I would like to appeal, especially to the Ambazonians in the diaspora, that the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, the government in exile, is the last hope for us. We have reached a point where we can actually see Ambazonia on our side. It is very important at this point that we put together all the resources we have, because there is a very, really big possibility that things can really change. And I'm not going to go into any detail whenever information that we get is properly, how do I put it? If the president feels that he can let Ambazonians know, you'll be the first to know. But we are at a point where we need a lot of help, and because Ambazonia is on our side, we can see it. And this is the opportunity I'm taking to tell everybody that we are very prepared in the government. We are very, very prepared for whatever happens. And we are pushing our agenda forward diplomatically. We have never fared as well as we've done recently. This has been the best so far, 2025. And I hope those Ambazonians who've been on the fence, they should come over and let's join hands together. Because you may actually be living well, but you have relatives, you have friends who are not. And we have to liberate them. We cannot do that on our own. And this is the occasion for everybody to do something about it, because we are doing a lot. Besides obviously the financial contribution that we make, the cabinet is not exonerated. In fact, we are expected to do more. But we have other engagements, physically, in person, talking to people on behalf of Ambazonia. And we have to demonstrate to our interlocutors that we are law-abiding citizens. We are also very hardworking. That we are not just sitting there and begging and hoping that people will sympathize with us. We contribute to the communities where we live. Bear that in mind. They look into that too, because they want to make sure that when we go back to Ambazonians, we are going to change society. And that's why we are professionals. We are not just unemployed, walking around and thinking that people will sympathize with us. We are professionals. We can live without working for the cause, and we'll be very, very fine. But our conscience will not be with us. So I just want to let everybody know this. We are not begging, we are not relying on the revolution or whatever to survive. We have other things to do, and we do them very well. Thank you, Paddy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mungwa. Thank you very much, all the panelists. I'm calling on you, Dr. Mungwa. While others, Barrister Fru and the others join the Zoom, I'll be sharing the Zoom with you. And Dr. Lobati joining the Zoom. I'll ask you, Dr. Mungwa, to stay with us in the studio since you will be addressing. Probably it will be better for you to do your address here before you join the Zoom for other coordinations. I'm also calling on all those who are watching us on via social media to join the Zoom meeting. The president promised to be with us. I suspect he's there, and the coordinators to join us. So we'll be doing some things right now while getting ready for that. We hope the program this evening should start right about now. Stay tuned.
Get ready for an evolution in broadcasting. ABC Networks 24 proudly presents Mission 2025, a groundbreaking launch that will change the way you experience television.
Beginning this Saturday, April 19, 2025, ABC Networks 24 ushers in a new era with 24-hour live programming that will keep you informed and inspired around the clock. Witness the power of cutting-edge technology as ABC Amba TV elevates its broadcast standards to the pinnacle of modern-day viewing.
All your favorite shows are back and better than ever, including Don't at ABC Amba News and military briefings. Plus, explore the rich tapestry of Ambazonia with our Amba history and engage in critical discussions in ethics for an emerging nation. Experience the redefined classics that you love alongside thrilling new shows set to captivate Ambazonians across the globe.
But that's not all. Mission 2025 introduces brand new programming like Global Business News Today, offering in-depth analysis of markets, industrialization, and global trade. Dive into the heartbeat of Ambazonia with county roots, exploring the sociology and governance from rural to urban landscapes.
Wake up to Ambazonia Arise, your premium morning show delivering news, social media buzz, and newspaper insights to start your day informed and connected.
Join us for Mission 2025, where innovation meets tradition and the future of television in Ambazonia begins, only on ABC Networks 24.
Stay tuned this Saturday as we embark on this thrilling new journey. Don't miss out.
Here comes the dawn of Mission 2025, your window to the world. Starting this Saturday, be a part of it. Subscribe and donate now.
Fellow Ambazonians, happy Easter. There comes a time when, like Jesus Christ, you carry the weight of the whole world on your shoulders, of everyone, that those who mock at you don't matter anymore. You don't hear them. You don't listen because of the weight you are carrying. I know many were mocking and saying all manner of things when Jesus was carrying the cross and bearing the pain for mankind. I say this because we're in Easter. Because of the pain, the weight of the pain he was carrying, those little pebbles that they were throwing around him, those little words that people were speaking, he didn't even hear them. It did not matter. It was all about his mission to be accomplished. Ambazonians, we need to come to a point as we look at this great example, a point where our feelings don't matter. The stones they throw at us don't matter. What they say by the side against us don't matter. Because we bear so much pain within that no other pain, we cannot feel any other pain. Have you imagined somebody who is burning in an oven 150 degrees? If you take a needle and pierce that person, he will not even know anything touched him because he's under a greater pain. If you carry the pain of our people, nothing can stop you. Nothing. No one can stop you. Nothing can even touch you and you feel it. I wake up in the morning, I talk to somebody. And that has been my experience for about 7 years now. I talk to somebody, a loved one. We talk and strategy. I listen to that one. By midnight, I look at that phone again. I look at that number. I cannot call that number again. You know why? Because the person I spoke to in the morning is nowhere to be found on the other side. He has been deleted. He has been killed by the forces of La Republic de Cameroon for no reason. That kind of burden. And the numbers are still there. I was just scrolling through my phone and see the numbers are there. Surprisingly, I've not deleted any. They are still there. They remind me of the reason why we must fight. Because if they have one wish before they finally gave up the ghost, was that we will not fail. We will not fail. So this is the time for us to fight. What happened to Comrade Abdul Karim? My old self would just be weeping and crying and saying and sharing my emotions and so on. Thank God my emotional self is now numb, not to say dead. The only thing I've learned to do now is to shrug the pain, learn my lesson from whatever is going on and go forward. Shrug the pain. Shrug away the distraction. Learn your lesson and go forward. So I hear he has been sentenced by the genocidal regime for life. Okay, one would expect that, right? Because what is your expectation of the devil? What do you expect from the devil? Good. The only surprise would have been if he was let go. So, what are the lessons learned? Our lesson should be that to all Ambazonians, all of us. Some of us are gradually drifting and creeping and trying to find, plow a middle ground. You are looking for a middle ground position where you are soft, you are a moderate, you can talk to La Republic, maybe you will make them see reason. La Republic de Cameroon and all their leadership, they don't reason. A reason is not in their DNA. You cannot reason with people who have no reasoning faculties. They are animalistic. They don't reason. They are Satan. All they know is evil. They fraudulently grafted us into their country. Evil. And by evil, they kept us. And by evil, they want to keep us. If somebody thinks that somehow we are the ones making it tough because we don't want to talk to them, if we had talked to them, they will change, then you are naive. And that is the naivety of some who think that if we can find the middle ground and talk with these people, somehow, La République du Cameroon will change. The only thing that La République du Cameroon will understand is our departure. And that's going to happen by force. By force. Because a thief will not accept a negotiated settlement. Because when he goes to that table, he will not have any grounds to get anything at all. Because he is a thief. The person who will quickly accept some kind of logic, some kind of settlement, some kind of dialogue is somebody who knows that when I get to the table, I will put my facts on the table. I will prove my case. I will give them my evidence. And everything they ask, I will check every box. But the person who knows that he has been a thief from the beginning, he has lied from the beginning, he has been a fraud from the beginning, how will he come on a table to discuss? How will he come to the table how will he want to talk with you? What will he tell you that will convince you? So they are scared of the table because they lose before the discussion begins. So one thing that we know is that it has to happen to us, whether they like it or not. That is the paradigm. That is the formula. Ambazonia has to be free, whether La République likes it or not, because we are a free people. That means we have to fight. So all these middle ground moderate who want to talk about federalism, let's just go and see what we can do. If we can just talk, maybe we can do some kind of confederation. Let's just have some talking terms with La République so that we can see how to solve this problem. You are naive. 63 years is a long time to know who a person is and who a person is not. As I'm here right now, and all Ambazonians, let's think about our brothers who have been jailed for life. Let's forget that some of them wish that some of us should be banished. Some of them wish that some of us, like us now, nobody should listen to us. They even wrote letters to the United Nations, wrote to all places that they should not listen to SAKO, don't listen to them. Let's forget about that. It's part of those things that I say we just shrugged it off, we learn our lessons and go forward. The question I want us to answer, which is urgent, is that what if some people's wishes, SAKO die, SAKO go, SAKO don't want you, and so on. What if we self-dissolve and we say, okay, all right, let's dissolve. And this fight comes to an end. Because I don't see another group of people who are organizing and who have the resources. Maybe I'm just a talker. That I'm not seeing. If you are seeing, you just tell me. Where is the other group of people who are organizing and making some effort on the ground, sponsoring the things that are happening? If you know them, tell me. So if we self-dissolve according to the wishes of some, and this thing comes to an end, what do you think the wicked regime will do to those people they are holding, who represent the remnants of the evil they have conquered outside? Because let me tell you, if we surrender, they have still conquered us by forfeiture. Means they conquered us by forfeiture, not because they are strong, but because we self-disintegrated or dissolved or we surrendered. So what do you think if we surrender? What do you think they will do with those who are in their hands, who represent the remnants of the evil they have conquered outside? Will they allow them to go back and foment some more? I just said this to show you that they will eliminate all of them. All of them. They will wipe them out. That is what governments do to anyone who takes arms against them in the form of a rebellion or a coup d'etat. That's what governments do. So it's not a wish I'm wishing. I'm just telling you what they will do. That's what governments do. And no human rights organization will condemn them for it. That's what governments do. If you try to overthrow them, you don't succeed. They kill you. It's treason. They kill you. When I think of my own brothers, soul-to-soul brothers in jail, whether in the Americas, or in some jail somewhere as a refugee, or in the dungeons in Yaoundé, in Cameroon, in Boya, in Douala, in Bafoussa, or Bamenda. When I think about them, there's nothing you can do to me that will stop. That will be painful to me, because the pain I carry is more than anything you can throw at me. And that's my wish for all of us who are still holding the plow, who are willing to fight to the end. Let's make the sacrifices. The salvation of our people depend on us. I don't care how few we are, but it is this few upon which the salvation of our people depend. That's what I know. That's what you should know. Pushing you around, pushing me around does not solve any problem. It is just ignorance. The salvation of our people depend on us. I don't need to like you for this to be true. You don't need to like me for this to be true, but that is the truth. The hope of our brothers and our sisters who are now suffering because of this struggle. If there's any hope where they are now in their cubicles, their hope is that we succeed. And for that reason, we must fight. Happy Easter.
Get ready for an evolution in broadcasting. ABC Networks 24 proudly presents Mission 2025, a groundbreaking launch that will change the way you experience television.
Beginning this Saturday, April 19, 2025, ABC Networks 24 ushers in a new era with 24-hour live programming that will keep you informed and inspired around the clock. Witness the power of cutting-edge technology as ABC Amba TV elevates its broadcast standards to the pinnacle of modern-day viewing.
All your favorite shows are back and better than ever, including Don't at ABC Amba News and military briefings. Plus, explore the rich tapestry of Ambazonia with our Amba history and engage in critical discussions in ethics for an emerging nation. Experience the redefined classics that you love alongside thrilling new shows set to captivate Ambazonians across the globe.
But that's not all. Mission 2025 introduces brand new programming like Global Business News Today, offering in-depth analysis of markets, industrialization, and global trade. Dive into the heartbeat of Ambazonia with County Roots, exploring the sociology and governance from rural to urban landscapes.
Wake up to Ambazonia Arise, your premium morning show delivering news, social media buzz, and newspaper insights to start your day informed and connected.
Join us for Mission 2025, where innovation meets tradition and the future of television in Ambazonia begins, only on ABC Networks 24.
Stay tuned this Saturday as we embark on this thrilling new journey. Don't miss out.
Here comes the dawn of Mission 2025, your window to the world. Starting this Saturday, be a part of it. Subscribe and donate now.
Uncle,